I had no control over this subconscious telling myself that I'm dying. Like, it was just a whole new thought in my brain. I felt like my brain had been replaced by someone else saying, you're about to die. And that riddled me like that. I didn't sleep for like 4 or 5 months. Like, I was scared to go to bed. Like, I didn't understand what was actually going on. So the anxiety breakdown was like a massive turning point for me in my life, because it changed my outlook of everything.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Stillness podcast. Our goal with this podcast and the Pottery studio is to introduce you to ways that you can find stillness in your life. Our guest today, Jake Ibbotson, is going to take us through a bunch of life experiences and how he's overcome mental challenges through business and personal. Welcome, Jake Ibbotson.
Thank you. How are ya?
Good, mate. Welcome to On Track Studio. And
yeah, it's a beautiful place, isn't it?
It is, it's good.
I love it.
So, where should we start? Jake's designed the first Pottery Studio website, or the existing current one. He still works on it. So Ibbotson Designs is where he's been for the last 10 years. Yep.
I've always had the design aspect of business, but obviously had the phone shop as well.
Yeah, cool. So when did the phone shop start?
Well, you got to go back a few years for that one. I started fixing phones when I was 14 at school. Obviously, I had an iPhone 3.
So first iPhone.
Yeah, very first iPhone. Dinosaurs, they call that. Went out the window of a car somehow, going around a roundabout. And obviously, being 14, I didn't have $350 to fix it. So went on eBay, went on YouTube, figured it out, and it worked, surprisingly. So just started from there, started doing mates' phones, which led to doing a business from home out of school, and then eventually a shop when I was 21.
Yeah, cool. So you were fixing everyone's phones at school?
Yeah, and I was charging like $50. It was ridiculously cheap.
Yeah, cool.
Look back at that and could have walked away a millionaire after grade 12, but that's
cool.
all right.
Some pocket change when you were a teenager?
Yeah, pretty much. Just got me home on the bus, really.
So when did you, what was the first shop called?
So first business was from home. It was called Classic iPhone Repairs.
Yeah.
Great name. I was just doing it from home. Obviously got into the understanding of, how business works, did a lot of research, trying to understand marketing and all that kind of stuff. It was just when that time of like Instagram was fairly new as well. I did that for about a year, and then I decided to go to uni to do double major in web and graphic design.
Yeah, cool.
While I was doing that, I was working at another phone shop, and then I had a break from uni. I broke up with my first girlfriend of 3 years. We had it was a pretty dramatic breakup, the first love kind of vibe. Mentally, it rocked me. So for me to try, and I had like a year of just absolutely doing nothing. It was pretty much living off Centrelink, which is pretty funny to look back at now. But picked myself up, dusted myself off, started Imperial Blue in Mooloolaba, my first shop.
What age are we now?
I just turned 21, so I was putting it together, and I just turned over 21.
Yeah, cool.
I launched it in December. We opened up, and I obviously turned 21 6th of November. So, started there, and that was my baby for 3 years. Love that.
Where was that based?
Mooloolaba. So I had the first shop was Brisbane Road, just further down towards the Bowls Club, opposite the Bowls Club, and then after 2 years, I made the decision to go up further towards the Esplanade for better foot traffic. So did that whole shop move. Even got a bit of a YouTube channel out of it.
Yeah, cool.
Tried it anyway.
It's good. Enjoyed doing that.
I enjoyed the aspect of the fun stuff of having a shell and creating it, designing it. I enjoy the startup of business. So that was pretty much gave me a new wind in business. I was 2 years in. I was kind of getting a bit stale with the enjoyment of it. So that kind of gave me a second wind and reminded me of why I was in it and the passion kind of thing. Like, obviously I didn't love fixing phones. I more enjoyed the business side of things. So it just reminded me that that's what I really liked and not fixing phones. So,
what do you think made you want to start running a business? Did your parents run businesses? Or?
Yeah, nah. See, the funny thing is, like, all during school, like, I wasn't an A student. I was a smart ass. I was always getting in trouble, but I always, I was always playing sport, but I always had that in the back of my mind saying, education is important. But, I was always a C/B student. I came out of school, still had no idea what I wanted to do. Obviously, the parents were like, "Oh, just go get a trade, be an electrician." But I just always knew I wasn't going to labour. Like, it just wasn't my kind of life. So I just kind of played it by ear. And then somehow I always said to myself that I'd be retired by I'm 40. Like, looking back at it, I had no idea what I was talking about because that's ridiculous. But always had that mentality that that's what my goal was. So, and then somehow, just fixing phones was just that gateway to being a business owner.
When you say retired, like what does that look like?
I must have been lazy as a kid as well because I was saying that I was like retired and I didn't have to work. So,
yeah, right.
But looking back at that, obviously you don't really understand how life works, and keeping busy is good for the body and the mental health. So if you're retired at 40, it's a long next 40 years of doing what, Yeah. So, but business was always not really a goal of mine. It just kind of my passion and drive went towards being a business owner.
Did your parents support you to start that, or?
No. My first idea of it, they're just like, for me going into business, it was I never thought it was going to fail. Like, I never had that. When you're young, you don't really have a fear. Like, when you're doing dumb stuff or jumping off stuff, you don't really fear the bad outcome. For me, going into business, I had no fear. Like, the thought of it not succeeding didn't even enter my mind. So, but obviously for them, that's the first thing they think, you're going to get yourself in debt. Like, I borrowed money to open up the first shop. And they're obviously worried about that, but that was never going to be the case for me. I just never even considered that was an option. So
that's good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's good. That didn't
good learning.
fail. Yeah.
No, it's good mentality to have. I think you have to. You can't approach business with the fact you're going to fail. You can't approach anything with the thought of failing, or you probably will fail.
No, and that's what I've learnt in the last kind of couple of years is obviously, that having that negativity thought, you're just cutting yourself short from the get-go. Like, and I obviously haven't always been like that. Like, in the last couple of years, haven't been as positive.
Yeah.
When going into businesses and stuff like that, or having that thought or that mentality of it won't fail. But
what do you think triggered that?
Definitely the anxiety breakdown. So, my third year of business, obviously, if you want to really recap it, I was third year of business. It was never ego for me. It was more just a lifestyle. I realized that I could not be in the shop and still live a life outside the shop, so not work. So, I got caught up in, partying pretty hard and not really having a structure or a routine that was healthy. And then one day in the shop, I had a anxiety breakdown. I've always had anxiety, but I've never had like this, this demon just absolutely just destroyed me. Like, it just absolutely ruined me. So I was just sitting there having a coffee. I used to be a bit of a coffee addict, as you probably know. So I don't drink coffee now. I'm on the hot joggies. But I was just sitting there and had heart palpitation. Like, everyone has heart palpitations. That's completely normal. And then my brain just went boom, click, and just told myself I was dying. So I freaked out, drove to Mum's house. I was like, Mum, I'm dying. Like, I had no control over this subconscious telling myself that I'm dying. Like, it was just a whole new thought in my brain. I felt like my brain had been replaced by someone else saying, you're about to die. And that riddled me like that. I didn't sleep for like 4 or 5 months. Like, I was scared to go to bed. Like, I didn't understand what was actually going on. So the anxiety breakdown was like a massive turning point for me in my life, because it changed my outlook of everything. But so after that, I got very driven to beat what I was going through. Like, I couldn't, I'm a very social person. I couldn't hang out with friends. I was spending majority of my time at home. with my mum. Something to be comfortable around. I couldn't, go do anything that I'd like to do. I couldn't work. I could do nothing. So, obviously, to understand it, I chose to go see a psychologist, which helped me understand what had actually happened, why it was happening. Obviously, my lifestyle choices of partying, the stress of having the shop, all that kind of stuff. It was just like a big downfall. And obviously, I've always had anxiety. It's riddled through my mum's side of the family, always all back to my granddad as well. So my lifestyle choices made this happen in a more dramatic way than it needed to be. But I obviously did the right things it took me a good, just over a year to get back to a mental state where I could just be more of myself, I could go out, hang out with friends, not worry about having an anxiety attack. There was a point that I was having like 6-7 anxiety attacks a day. I was getting my mum to take me to the hospital because I thought I was dying. Like it was pretty surreal to look back at now because right now I go, I'm fine. But like looking back at then, I was just like a scared little kid that had no idea what was going on. I had no understanding of what actually anxiety was capable of. So in that experience, very grateful for, because I learned a lot about how to deal with anxiety. I learned a lot about mental health, never take it for granted. I learned a lot about how other people deal with certain things. Like a lot of people that have anxiety and stuff, they tend to go down the train of drugs, alcohol, because subconsciously I was doing that, but I didn't even realize I was doing that. Like I was stressed, I was anxious about the shop, which made me go, I'm going to party. And that's like a quick fix. But I thought I was just, being a 22-year-old at the time, 23-year-old. But realistically, I was doing that to suppress feelings that I didn't want to face. So it was a hectic year. It was a hectic year.
Sounds hectic.
Yeah, no, it was.
Yeah.
It was different though. Like it changed. As me as a person, it changed me completely. Like I look back, I was a completely different person. Like I still have the founding morals and stuff like that. Yeah. But as my personality wise, I changed a lot.
How did you get through it? Like after the 6 months or 5 months?
Well, first off, I went banned on all alcohol, everything. I didn't touch a thing. I pretty much went back to basics, to the fundamentals of what makes you healthy. So obviously the healthy gut. I was eating foods like turkey and avocado and stuff like that gives you good release of serotonin. So pretty much because I didn't sleep. When I say sleep, I went to sleep, but I was never asleep. My brain was still going. So I didn't sleep for so long, so I lost all levels of serotonin. It was almost like a depressive state, but I was never like really depressed. I was more just like not me. I was having these anxiety attacks, all day, every day. So that plus exercise, so clean diet, exercise, understanding the triggers, what things triggered me, stay away from them. It's pretty much just understanding me as a person, because like this is from that day. I'm living with that anxiety stuff for the rest of my life. So these anxiety attacks, I'm going to have them for the rest of my life. That was like you got to come to terms with that. You got to understand that. Like that's you for now. Like it's never gone anywhere. But the more you deal with it and the more you understand it and the more you take it head on, the less it's going to occur. So I went 2 years without an anxiety attack, which is huge, from 6 to 7 a day.
So when you did have one, or you're still clean?
I did have one, which was only like 3 weeks ago. I had 2 in 1 week.
What was the trigger, or what happened? What's going on in your life?
But the trigger would be, it would be a couple of things that leading up to the actual day, but it would be my recent job or business, White Oak, through town with that. So obviously I was back to square one with what I was going to do next in terms of business. And then the following 2 weeks later, I had my granddad pass as well. So I felt like I was fine dealing with it all. But then obviously I went out and had a big night on the beers with the boys, which I've always loved doing. And then the next day I was just hungover. So when you're hungover, you're a lot more anxious because obviously alcohol just does that to you and does that to everyone. But I wasn't as mentally strong, so I had like a little trigger of just felt like I was a bit uncomfortable with how I was feeling. Like I felt like, I didn't feel right, and that just sparked it. And I just wasn't mentally strong enough to beat it and tell it that I'm fine. And that just went to a 4 or 5 hour episode of anxiety attack. It was pretty brutal. But and the funny thing is, after one of those things, like you're fragile for 4 to 5 days. So like you're not yourself. You're still on edge. You're like, because it's such a terrifying and traumatic thing, an anxiety attack, especially when they go for so long. You're trying to like, you're so petrified of it happening again. You can't get out of that space. You're always constantly thinking about it, like, oh, please don't come back, please don't come back. So that led me to Airlie, which was the Bucks trip.
So what happened?
Well, I had the anxiety attack on the Saturday, and then I had the Bucks on the Thursday coming. So I had been that 4 or 5 days, and that morning of the Thursday, I felt myself again, which is good. So I was like, all right, I'm going to go, but obviously going to a Bucks party in Airlie, you know what it's about. So I gave myself the opportunity to go to see how I feel. I didn't necessarily thought I was going to drink, but I obviously had drink beers on the first night there. I think I was pretty silly to think that I was never going to have a beer that weekend. So got on the beers, I was fine. Obviously, when you have a few beers, there's no anxiety. It's a suppressant. Like it relaxes you. And I went to bed at like 1 o'clock. Woke up at 3 o'clock. Boom. Anxiety attack straight off the bat again. I was riddled with it. So another 4 or 5 hour episode as well. Like I didn't just, my past experiences, the anxiety was like, like maybe 10, 15 minutes an attack and then they'll go away. But these two are like longevity. So,
what does it actually look like for someone who hasn't had it?
So the thing is, with anxiety, it's hard to explain what anxiety is to someone that doesn't understand or hasn't experienced it. Like people might say, "Oh, I'm anxious" or whatever. They're nervous, say going on a podcast or going in front of a audience. An actual anxiety attack is like you don't wish that upon anyone else. It's like someone taking into your brain and like fearing for your life on a constant basis, thinking like, this is it, I'm going to go right now, and there's nothing that you can do to fix it. Like you feel like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And that is like, I think that's the most terrifying thing. Like if your brain automatically goes, I'm never going to get through this. But realistically, they're always going to get through this. Like that's, the anxiety attack's not going to go for the rest of your life. But mentally, from the outside in, it has been a struggle because obviously my girlfriend, she doesn't understand it. And like obviously I hadn't had an anxiety attack for 2 years. So it was her first time witnessing it. And it's just, you just look at me and you wouldn't even know I'm going through it, but you could see I'm going through something, but it's more like I'm battling my head right now to try and stay positive and get through the next 10, 15 minutes to come out the other side. But unfortunately, there's nothing anyone can do for you. Like you don't want to be touched. You don't want to be talked to. You basically want to focus on your brain and be positive thoughts of like, okay, just give it 10, 15 minutes. It's going to finish. For me, I do things like go to the beach, go for a walk, get out in the sun, stuff like that to try and subside the anxiety attack. Or do something that makes you feel something that's familiar to you. Like say, for me back when it first happened 3, 4 years ago, I was going to my mum's house because that was like home. Being around her was familiar for me, so that made me feel better. But yeah, from that morning, the worst part was I was in Airlie Beach. And one, I hate flying. Gives me anxiety as it is. So I was already in an anxiety state, and I was like, all right, I've got to go home because obviously it wasn't the right environment for me. I could have stayed, drank more, obviously continue. But for me right then, I'm just like, it was a turning point going, all right, I've been given 2 years of good mental health. Yeah, maybe I did work for it, but I look at the last 2 years of mental health being perfect. I've taken it for granted, and I've let my old lifestyle come back into play. So drinking on a weekly basis, or it's not even drinking, it's binge drinking. Like, it's not having 6 beers. It's going on Thursday, Friday, Saturday and having 20 beers. So in that moment when I was in A Beach, all I thought about was healthy lifestyle. That's all I want. I don't want, because obviously you're going through hell and back. You don't want to experience this ever again. So like, what do I need to do so I never experience this again? A lot of people, when they come out of it, they're like, oh, sweet. You know, it's like a near-death experience. You have those thoughts and then you don't actually die and then you just forget about them. For me, it was like, nah, I'm not doing this again. So the alcohol is a trigger. It's not necessarily the cause, but it is definitely a trigger for me. It's not like I was an alcoholic or anything like that. So coming back, I had to make the decision to go back. I was turning the page. Like, it wasn't a good environment, so I came back. And then that led me to the 3 months sober. I was like, all right, I initially just wanted to do like a month just to, you know, clear the head, get back to the basics. But I was like, actually, I don't want to just be a month sober. I want to make complete change of my lifestyle, because I find even if you have the month, you fall back into your bad habits, like the drinking stuff. Like, it might not be a problem from me looking at it or someone else looking from the outside in, but end of the day, I drink just to suppress feelings. Like, there's no other way around it. That's the honest truth. Like, that's your escape from reality, drinking. So I think being honest with yourself and understanding why you do drink, or why you are doing what you're doing that's harming, or, you know, putting you down the road to having anxiety or anxiety attacks, is it's a must. So the 3 months was like, all right, this will give me time to change my habits, not just change them for a month, but to actually try and scope out of a way to not fall back to just drinking to escape reality, enjoying my life and my routine and my people around it without having to have a drink and socialize. So, and then obviously with that, I needed accountability. So that's how the Beyond Blue campaign came into it. I was like, what's a better way to raise money, keep me accountable, and raise awareness and support for other people that do go through anxiety and obviously have problems with drinking and stuff like that.
Yeah, cool.
Than to do that one. So
awesome. So you touched on White Oak, which was a business you trialed with someone. Mm-hmm. What do you want to talk about that, or like why your heart wasn't in it?
So firstly, going into business with White Oak, it's a marketing agency. Didn't do my research in the marketing spectre. I didn't understand it. Obviously, being a freelance designer, I know what a marketing agency is, but I didn't know it was such a flooded market, and that the marketing agency as a whole had a bad name for itself. So, and me personally, I didn't know if it was for me or not. So, I went into that with another guy that I didn't really, I knew him as a person, but like it wouldn't be a mate or stuff like that. I didn't really know him to above. So, but I've always been an optimistic person. Like, I went into it with like, why not? What's the worst that could happen? So, we gave it a good crack. We did. We started off real well. But the last 6 months of business, you kind of felt yourself waking up and you weren't excited to go to work. Like, you'd have your days where you're pumped, but I found myself not being excited to get out of bed to go to work. And that is, as a business owner, you'd know, if you're not excited to get out of bed and go to work for yourself, something's not right. And that secretly does really affect your mental health without even you realizing it. So I think after, obviously I gave it time to make sure it wasn't just me being, not giving it a full crack, or me just trying to, get out of it, or, try and put the blame on someone else. But after 10 months, I was still having that same kind of feeling. So it's better to put one foot in front of the other and make sure that you're not doing something that you don't like every day. So I made the decision to have the chat, and we pulled the pin on it.
So you obviously took your website design, graphic design into it. Is that where you've gone back to? I mean, I'm sure you probably never left it. You probably just...
Yeah, so I was always still doing my Ibbotson Design clients throughout the White Oak, which pretty much was keeping me afloat for this year. But back to basics. So my whole mentality right now for the next 3 months, I've actually got a structured plan for the next 3 months is back to basics. So personal, I've got stuff like routine. I'm trying to get into meditation, which you'd be very proud of me for.
This will help.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it
more
in a
about
minute.
stillness. Yes. Back to basics. So doing my core things that I can fall back on and I feel comfortable for. So obviously the personal health is like, your food, your exercise, your movement, your diet with I'm going back to keto as well.
Yeah, cool.
Which I find is very good for mental health or your clarity. And then obviously back to Ibbotson Designs, trying to rebuild that. I've learned a lot over the last 2 years, so I'm going to try and input that into Ibbotson Designs and kind of rebrand it, give it a new kind of shape, feel, and expand my horizon of what I do for clients.
I think routine's super important, especially even just the diet. I mean, whether you're plant-based, carnivore, keto, whatever you're doing, it's just the consistency of that's what I'm eating. Don't need to think about it. Cooking the same thing. Your gut's probably happy because you're not eating refined sugars. And
It's for me personally, when I first obviously doing the research about gut health and what you eat, I didn't understand that. You obviously got your nervous system to your brain from your gut. I couldn't believe it, Like I couldn't understand it. I was like, what? That doesn't make sense. But when I did keto, like the clarity, the no bloating, everything was just like it was crazy. Like I didn't really, I didn't believe it. If someone told me that, I'd be like, yeah, whatever. I'm gonna go eat whatever I want to eat. Chicken and rice, you'd be right.
Yeah.
But everyone's different, and everyone processes food differently, which is cool because I tried a lot of different things to get to keto, if you know what I mean. And keto was one that worked. But like you say, routine's hard to be consistent.
Oh yeah.
I'm definitely not a consistent kind of person. I'm a go hard for 1 or 2 weeks and then have a week off and then go hard again for a week, and that's definitely been my flaw throughout my whole life. But this next 3 months is trying to fix that problem.
Routine is hard.
It's
hard. Consistency is key, especially even, we can actually talk about this, but having a diary and just goes like, write down everything you want to do that day, keeps you accountable, just ticking it off. Like sometimes if I've done something and then I haven't put on the list, I'll just write it in and tick it off.
Yeah.
Just because,
Makes you feel good.
Well, makes you feel good. It's like, well, I actually did do more than that's on there.
So
and
the thing is, I've always been a list guy.
And it's routine of actually doing that. So it's like, oh yeah, I did that too.
Yeah.
Tick it off.
I think I'm reading a book on habits at the moment. It's very interesting, Very gives you a good understanding of what you actually need to do to break a habit and create a routine or change a habit within your routine. Obviously, we're all about habits, so trying to work away at that too, which is like I've always done the list thing, the check thing, but I write it. It makes me feel good when I write it. I walk away and I might go to the beach. You know what I mean? Like I get that good feel for like 5 minutes, like I've accomplished something. So that's always been my issue, actually doing the work.
Yeah, but don't set yourself too many tasks.
And that's the fundamental keys of back to basics.
We've got in here my intention for today, but it's also I'd be accomplished if I achieved. So like, if I only achieve these things, I'm accomplished. Because three things a day is better than, or one thing a day is better than none.
Yeah.
So you can write a list of 20 things and do none of them.
But
yeah.
What happens if you're a hard ass on yourself?
Then you go to the gratitude part of the book and you're really grateful for.
Gratitude. Do you do much gratitude stuff, grateful stuff?
I try and look at everything. What was this morning? I was trying to be positive about the fact that I've got Gabby's car and she's like, yeah, it'll be sweet. Like, breaks down the first time I start. It can't even walk. Like, I was.
What positives do you take from that?
Well,
you get to walk.
I get to stay around. I was like, oh, well, I'll work from on track, and the studios, I will live in Nambour, so both those things are close. I'll just walk.
Yeah, that's a positive.
Guy's been wanting to go to archery in Nambour, so we'll go do that.
Yeah, okay.
I've got to record meditations. I'll do that.
Yeah,
like, I don't know. Look at the positive. I don't have to go to the construction site at Bells Creek now because I can't drive there.
I think that attitude, like, have you read the book Power of Now?
Yeah, I think Jake mentioned it yesterday or the other day, and I think
that talks about that kind of stuff, and it's such a, when you think about it, it's such a good thing to do, but it's actually so hard to incorporate in your everyday life.
Yeah,
like, be positive and live in the now, like. But once again, if you're doing that on a regular basis, it becomes a habit. When
you were reading that book, when he talks about like no mind or the present, the now.
Yeah.
Could you feel that? Like, have you experienced that?
I gave it a go when I was reading. He tells you to actually try and do it.
It was the first time I've ever felt like proper stillness.
Yep, I did it. That's the only time I've ever had it.
Yeah. Well, you don't meditate.
No.
Maybe come to Pottery.
I try and meditate. Yeah. Like, I do like just a 5-minute thing, and it's like, I don't know, I just feel out of breath after it.
There's something I used to, because when I remember I was reading that book, I was also real into permaculture at the time, so I was gardening, and I remember sitting down and looking up at the sky, and it was like this cloud moving, like big cloud, but it was like moving. Have you ever watched a cloud, and it's like, you can look at it, it doesn't look like it's moving, but then you look at a different angle and it's moving really fast.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at it, and I got that feeling of just total presence as this cloud, like this huge cloud just drifted over me.
Yeah.
Like I was nothing. I'm just like
just a nobody.
I was just literally, it's like almost like I was the cloud. I was just like, there was no thoughts. I was just watching.
It's
observation.
It's a surreal feeling, because like, obviously we're all always thinking in the past or the future. Like, you're never just in the now, which makes so much sense. But to actually accomplish it, it takes time.
It takes practice. Yeah.
It takes practice. But I'm trying to incorporate meditation into my life, because I know for me, upstairs in my head, I'm always everywhere. Like, I'm always thinking about, with the anxiety thing, like just having that, not you take away the anxiety attacks or whatever, having anxiety in your blood, like you're thinking about things that, like, thinking about things that if you talk to someone, like, you think way too far ahead. So if I say if I want to go to the fridge, I'd be like, what happens if I trip over on the way there? You know what I mean? Like, it's called that you think more in depth into things than someone else without anxiety.
Yeah, right.
It's pretty wild. But
have you learnt to focus on your breath? Are you a nose breather or a mouth breather?
That's a hard question. I don't know how to answer that.
Yeah, you should read, I think it's Breath by James Nestor, maybe.
I know if you're a nose breather, it's better for
a lot of things.
A lot of things. I read that like 2 weeks ago.
If you just focus on, let's just do it now. Shut your eyes and focus on your nose. Shut your mouth and just focus on your nose breathing.
Yeah, I could go to sleep.
That's a good way to silence your mind.
Yeah.
Just go back to your breath.
Yeah.
I wondered when you were talking about your stories before if you had that. Because, like, obviously Vipassana is a lot of, like, the first 3 days is focusing on your breath.
Breath is... So my granddad actually taught me that one.
Yeah.
He goes deep breath. So that's definitely the first thing I go to.
Yeah.
Because you're getting worked up. Your heart's pumping. Your blood's going. Like, you got to try and slow everything down. So the first thing you obviously do, you do the deep breaths. So you shut the eyes, do the deep breaths like that. But outside of experiencing that, I've lately, since the last 3 weeks, I've been trying to, if I'm starting to feel a little bit more too anxious than I like to feel, I'd start to turn to do that. Like, not meditate, but just breathing.
Yeah.
And like good. It has the opportunity to, just to bring you back down. And
it's essentially meditation.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
Putting the meditation title on it. Yeah. I've tried.
There's nothing, you don't need to overcomplicate it. It's literally observing the breath is meditating.
Yeah. 100%. My brain just goes everywhere. So
meditation. Just keep bringing it back to the breath.
Yeah. Meditation's always been a tough thing for me, but I've always tried to chip away at it. Do you meditate?
Yeah, I do. It's on and off. Like, it's the routine thing, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I can always go back to breath. Like, even, I don't know, especially when I drink coffee and I sit here, I'm just like, I just like sit and observe the feeling of it through my body. I'm just like, I'm starting to feel a bit. Yesterday, especially when I had it before the podcast with Jake, I was just like, I'm so jittery.
Really?
Just rather than
no worse feeling.
Rather than like, I don't know, letting it give you that anxious feeling that coffee can do. I just kind of watch it and just feel what that's doing to me.
Really?
Like, observe the whole experience.
Yeah. So your brain's like, instead of like being in the feeling, you're watching the feeling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think Eckhart Tolle talks about it in The Power of Now.
The Power of Now. That's something that I cannot do. I feel everything. Like, it's like with that brain thing, it's like having the control to. So you have I find controlling your subconscious with anxiety is very hard to do. That's kind of like what you do. That's what you train to get better at it. So that's what obviously I got better over the last couple of years, is training your subconscious. So you've got one person saying like, "Oh, you're anxious," you're the other person saying you're fine.
Yeah.
In the last 2 years, this person's bigger than this person, which is kind of the end goal for someone that has anxiety. But with back to routine, what do you actually have a specific routine that you stick to?
Not
do you
like
have key points?
I don't. It's not like written out, but there's like, I don't know, there's consistency in it.
Yeah.
You know,
what is it? I'd love to know.
Like, in what respect? Like,
in like, do you have a morning routine,
like
a night routine?
I'm not like a routine as I get up and I, do this for 5 minutes.
Do an ab workout.
Yeah, no, it's not like that. But it's like, make sure I go to jiu-jitsu on Tuesday, Thursday morning, or Wednesdays I'm normally at the studio. Like, that sort of, the days are set.
Okay. So you don't have any morning
routine. Make sure I eat breakfast. I don't get up and, I should, and I do notice the benefit. Nighttime, if I meditate before bed, it's good.
Yeah. Reading.
Reading, yeah.
Read before bed or mornings?
I try at night, but I'll just drop the book on my face.
Put you to sleep, eh? That's good though. Like, I think reading is a massive thing for me, eh? Like, I think keeping the brain learning continuously, there's something that gives you stillness about that as well. Like, it's a feel good. It gives you like serotonin levels boost, I swear. Because like, ever since I never used to read until this year. I started reading this year. I actually started doing the start of this year. I did the write down the 3 to 5 gratefuls daily, read, and like those two alone just made a substantial difference for my mental health, I reckon. Yeah. Cool. Obviously, I was doing something new as well.
Well, have you ever done or tried to do 75 Hard, Andy Frisella's?
Well, I've seen that, eh?
Yeah. I've tried a few times. I can never finish it.
But I think I always looked at it as in the drinking thing. No chance. No chance. But
right. See, mine's more I think it's the 2 workouts I can never finish, because you can't do one big one. So it's always fitting that last 40. I was finding I was just like going for a walk at 9:30 at night, because I get home late, have dinner, and then I'm like, I've got to go for a walk. Yeah. But having those every single time I do it, because I've tried it so many times, and I do it for like a few weeks, and then
it
definitely
cheat meals?
Helps.
No cheat days?
No cheat meals. You got to stick to a diet, doesn't matter which one. 2 45-minute workouts.
See, that the no
3
cheat
litres of water
meals would be hard too. Like,
on a gallon of water, so it's almost 4 litres.
Because like,
no alcohol.
Yeah, I guess now looking at it, it's probably differently. Like,
and you got to read 10 pages a day. So it all is small things.
Yeah,
but it's like, just got to make time for it. And I was always reading like last 10 o'clock. I got to eat 2 more pages.
Yeah, but did you enjoy it?
Yeah, you do, because it's the routine thing. You got to do it.
It's the feeling of that 1% kind of theory. Like, you feel like you're getting better 1% daily. Yeah. That's what keeps you coming back to it. That's kind of like what everyone should strive for, is that feeling of getting better every day. Yeah. And with the alcohol, back to the alcohol thing, no one ever drinks and then wakes up the next morning feeling better. So it's kind of like you're going backwards. Yeah. If you're drinking twice a week, you're going backwards twice that week. Yeah. That's the kind of outlook I've kind of looked at it now, is I want to go more forward in life, and I felt like this factor was setting me back. Whether like it wasn't giving me anxiety or not, it's still, you'd have a hangover day, you'd eat bad food, go out drinking, you spend more money than you should be. Like, stuff like that. Like everything around drinking is negative apart from the social aspect. So now I've got to try and you got to try and separate the social aspect of drinking, which is difficult.
But
Very difficult.
I mean, I used to think it was difficult years ago when I kind of stopped drinking. And I'll have occasional one with people, but I think you just move that social aspect somewhere else. Like people always say that to me. It's like, oh, but the social side. But it's like, I don't know. I still socialise with people. Just get a coffee, get hot chocolate with and socialise. Go to dinner, have cooked dinner at yours or something. I don't know. There's other ways to socialise than going to the pub.
Yeah, I definitely, you can still go to the pub. But that's, because all my mates, all my close boys group, we've had 15 of us for the last, 5 to 10 years. So our social aspect is obviously always got drinking involved.
And that is a hard part, and it is hard to leave a group.
Yeah.
If you want it, you also got to remember that you become the people you hang around.
100%. And that's kind of the scary thing for me now is I'm on this path right now to a complete lifestyle change. It doesn't mean necessarily you got to not hang out with them. I could still go to the pub and not drink. I could sit there and still socialise, but that aspect of hanging out and having a good time, that's dramatically going to change.
Yeah.
I had a friend's birthday last weekend at Pier 33. Rocked up, first hour and a half, you're chatting. Then after that, you're like, it's getting a bit boring. You know what I mean? I ended up just was making myself stay there to be present there. I didn't want to be there. Whereas if I was drinking, I'd be there all night. Yeah.
So is the experience and the time with your friends what's fun, or is it the alcohol?
Well, you don't want to answer that question because you feel bad.
Well, that's that's the big question. But they all probably have the same thing.
100%.
But then if you all went and hung out sober, I'm sure you'd actually it'd be no different.
It would be no different. But the alcohol, the social aspect with the alcohol definitely does make it funner. You understand why people drink.
Everyone going around doing MDMA together would be more fun.
You're on your own with that one.
You can just take it to the next level.
No thanks.
It's not for me, but I'm just saying, you can just do drugs.
Mate, that's a normality in today's society. There's no just drinking anymore. It's everything else with it.
Yeah,
the white stuff. So it's
kind of sad.
It's sad, but this is kind of what made me pumped to do 3 months sober. Because for me, I've never looked at 3 months and gone, no chance. I love a beer with the boys. I play golf. One of my down things is playing golf, and every time I play golf, I've got 8 beers with me. That's part of it. Now I've played 4 or 5 games sober, and it's mentally a lot more challenging because it's just obviously very competitive as well, but it's a complete different outlook on the game because I'm not drinking. But I still love it. It's just mentally a lot more challenging because I can't have that release with the mates. I don't feel like I'm as more involved with them.
I know the feeling.
But I think I want to obviously still go to events and stuff like that. But I think I'll be distancing. Yeah, that's the word, man. Let's cut that bit. Myself from a lot more stuff because I went home that night last weekend and I felt excluded. I felt like I was on this journey by myself.
That's all right. I'll tell you what does happen.
Hit me.
You don't lose the friends, but you find new people that match what you're doing now.
Yeah.
So there's no shortage of mates out there.
And there's
no shortage of people that you'll get along with and that will want to do exactly what you want to do.
Yeah. And that's kind of the exciting part of it. I'm pumped for, I'm actually pumped for this 3 months because not one will my whole lifestyle change. But like you said, you're going to meet new people that are, align the same as what I'm trying to achieve. And the other aspect of it is I could be a completely different person. What you can achieve in 3 months of not having those 1% going backwards twice or 3 times a week. Yeah. That's pretty exciting stuff. So, and your mental clarity as well, because I've never had it. I've never had 3 months. Obviously, when I was younger, I didn't start drinking until I was 19.
That's quite late.
Yeah,
in some ways.
never really a big drinker, eh?
Yeah.
I was always playing sport.
Yeah, cool.
Like, obviously, when I was 14, 15, I had my goon sack once every 6 months at a party, but my dad was a hard man, so I didn't really have that opportunity to do that.
Should be easy for you then.
Yeah. No, I haven't actually thought about it at all. Like, I forget I'm doing 3 months. Like, the alcohol thing, it's gone now. So I think it'd be hard still, because obviously you got birthday, Christmas, silly season, but I'm keen to show people that you can do it, eh? Like,
yeah, good.
Like, especially because I love a beer. Like, hopefully, might take a few mates with me, out of my group. You never know.
That's it.
Might lead the way, but
Matty Orman.
he needs it, doesn't he? No, he started late though, so that's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah. Don't want to go down that avenue, mate. He's a menace, isn't he?
Yeah.
I was actually really looking forward to spending time with him at the Bucks, eh?
Yeah.
I had the biggest FOMO when I got home, eh? Because obviously it was a 4 or 5 day event. I came home, flew there and flew back within 24 hours.
Yeah.
So obviously I was getting on the Snapchats for the next 3-4 days. And biggest FOMO, but yeah, did not envy being there. That's for sure.
That's good.
Yeah.
So we're gonna give you one of these when they are launched.
Yeah.
I'll just take you through it a little bit. So you're gonna be able to scan to do meditation, so you can get started.
So are you making the meditations?
I'm doing a bunch.
So it's your voice?
Jake Stone, yeah,
beautiful.
maybe like that.
Beautiful.
Jake Stone will be doing a bunch. Hopefully get a few others in there as well, which will be cool. But yeah, did you ever used to write when you did write, didn't you?
Yeah, so I've got a book now. What's it called? I don't remember what it's called, but it's like a proper book and it has stuff like that. And I just write. I'm just a big writer. Like, I hate typing stuff.
Yeah. So
I like writing it.
I'll be super keen to hear if you do have another anxiety attack, how something like this would help.
Well, writing definitely does help. When I was first understanding what the anxiety stuff was, I wrote down my feelings, how I felt. I wrote down what it is, why it's happening.
Yeah.
So I've still got that book somewhere, actually.
Yeah.
I think like that. It's like self-development, and that's what that would be good for. Like, you can see yourself at the start of the year, what you're writing about, how you're feeling towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
Because it definitely does help going back and understanding how you feel in certain areas of life.
I think this will help people who are going through that stage, but also they're out of it and they're just now living a kind of level life, because we all got ups and downs. Like,
well, this also will be like, for me, like, someone's got to remind me to do meditation. If I see it's QR code there, I'm going to do it. You know what I mean? Like,
and they'll be short, like, beginners 5-minute stuff. Just then progress up to 30. Yeah,
that's all I can do.
But that's the thing. You want to start, 5.
Yeah,
do a 10-minute.
You don't want to overwhelm people trying to ease their way into meditation.
It's hard enough to sit for an hour once you've been doing it for 6 years.
Really?
Whatever. Yeah.
That was a long time. I'm fidgety as.
Yeah. One thing when I haven't been doing it for a while and I want to get back into it, I just commit to 60 or 90 minutes and just won't move. And then once you've done that, you're like, wow, this is so good. Why have I stopped this?
For an hour?
Yeah, I think Sophie and I did in that 90 minutes or something, because we hadn't meditated in ages, so we'll just do 90 minutes. We'll get back into it. And then it was just back into it.
Are you listening to someone talk?
No, you listen to it. Well, Vipassana, you don't. You just listen to the chanting at the start if you want, and it's just yourself for 90 minutes.
Where did your brain go for 90 minutes?
Probably everywhere, but keep back to the breath. Keep going back to the sensation.
So your goal is every time you lose it, you don't let it run, you bring it back.
Yeah, as soon as you are conscious of the fact that your mind has travelled, it started thinking about what you're going to eat after this, or what
am I doing for 90 minutes?
Yeah. You go back to the breath, all the sensations on your body.
Yeah, okay.
So you it's just constantly pulling you back. It's not like I can sit there for 90 minutes and not think.
That'd be epic. Some people can't do that though.
Keep growing the time.
Yeah, it's definitely something that I definitely want to get into more. Like, don't use it just as like a last resort mechanism. Use it just as a daily thing.
You ever done pottery?
No, I did Pottery and Chill.
Oh, you did, yeah.
Yeah. It is.
Cool. You did it with the group, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love to do the wheel throwing.
Yeah.
That looks satisfying.
Did you notice Could you get in the zone there, or was it you come to?
Yeah,
Was it a social aspect?
I think that's why I'm a creative person.
Yeah, cool.
I think that's why I'm a designer, because
You'd find it in design when you're like stuck, when you're not stuck, when you're like, you know the design you're going for and you just keep fiddling, making it perfect, making it perfect.
Yeah.
That state.
That's not stillness, but I'd relate to that as meditation for now, because I get stuck into one little thing that I'm trying to fix, and I look up the clock, it's been 2 hours.
I think you're in the, I'd probably call it flow state.
Yeah, 100%.
Which is, much the same.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said that now. Probably is why I'm a designer. Oh, well.
It's good.
Yeah,
I find it when I'm like obviously do a fair bit of design too, from architecture.
Yeah.
If I'm just stuck on like in design doing something, I can just go through for like 2 hours and I'm like, oh, sweet.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, you're not just doing it because you have to do it, but
no, I mean, I start doing it because I have to do it, and then realize that I enjoy it. I'm like, why don't I do this more often?
Yeah, 100%.
It's the same as pottery. I don't do it much. When I do it, I'm like, oh, should do this more often.
I guess you've kind of found what you like doing if you look at the clock and it's been 2 hours and you don't even realize you're doing it.
Yeah, that's it.
I guess, I must deep down really do like design then, because
just focus on it. Well, I think you know that now. You've gone back to it.
Yeah, well, it's back to basics, and that's what I love doing. So it must be. I've always looked at it just like, I went to uni for it, so I can make money for it. But there must be more underlying things that I actually do enjoy it.
Yeah. Do you get up in the morning and dread having to do design like you did with?
No, that's the thing. So that's the difference. So I guess that answers the question there, because the design aspect thing is one of the only things I've ever been able to do to get up at like 6 o'clock or 4 o'clock. I went through a stage and start working on it. Yeah, like I don't need a coffee, no nothing. I can just open up the laptop and just start working on it, and it's not like dreadful. It just allows my brain to just kind of flow at my own pace. But it's also I did like 9 hours yesterday straight. Actually, I had a little swim in the afternoon. I was to break it up, but that I noticed that like as mentally, I felt like I was drained, but just tired, like a good tired. So I think that's good. So I think it is the thing for me, Just trying to utilise that and expand it, different avenues.
Yep.
Definitely.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on and having a chat.
All right. Thanks for having me, legend. Appreciate your time.
And yours.